This week, we're back talking about Intel shedding more of their outside obligations, including more Linux things. There's Ubuntu and CUDA news. There's the Bluefin LTS. There's eBPF. There's Bcachefs and its life outside of the kernel. And Mesa may start accepting AI-written contributions. And there's more. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is the Untitled Linux Show, episode 221, recorded Saturday, September the 20th. Cooperative Socialist Paradise. Hey folks, it is Saturday once again, and once again it's time for us to come together and geek out about Linux and open source, some hardware and some software. It's time for the Untitled Linux Show. It's not just me, it is a group of us, and we are going to we're going to chat, we're going to talk, we're going to have some fun. We've got Ken and we've got Rob. We do not have Jeff back yet today, but hopefully we'll have him back in the slot for next week too.
Yep. And are you all ready to start playing around with some command line tips, or do we want to cover news first?
We'll do news first. I've been playing around with command line tips, though. Emphasis on playing, actually. So that'll be fun when we get to that. No, let's do some news first. Rob, you've got some Intel stuff. Jeff's not here, so you're having to hold down the Intel news.
Yeah, so...
Let's go. What's up now?
You know, Intel has long been one of the champions of Linux and open source, when it comes to compared to the likes of NVIDIA, kind of leaving them far behind. But are times changing? We shared with you all a couple months ago that Intel was shutting down their blazing fast, clear Linux distribution. I guess, and we were all, it was sad, but we're all kind of okay with it. It didn't make sense. I don't know. But they were still Linux contributors with their open source drivers. Last month, Intel lays off lead to a number of open source Intel drivers being orphaned. The maintainers were laid off, and the future of the drivers still remains uncertain today. And here's a little backstory on another project. The x86-SIMD-sort is a blazing fast AVX512 sorting library that Intel published a couple of years ago, and later was added to NumPy and used by many notable projects. Well, this developer has also, he's been let go from Intel, kind of leaving another open source Intel project in limbo, briefly. Because fortunately, at least this is one of the projects that will be continuing on. It's become too important to NumPy to let it just fade away. Noting in a recent NumPy ticket, quote, maintainers of x86 SIMD sort no longer work for Intel, and we're uncertain of Intel's support of this library going forward. So, we have two options: transfer the repository to NumPy, or fork and vendor the library under NumPy namespace. Fortunately, Intel, they reached out, they talked to Intel, and Intel agreed to transfer the existing x86 SIMD sort repository from the Intel organization to its now new home with NumPy. But that's just one project. But the fact that they're willing to just kind of let that go and hand it over so easily, I don't know what's happening at Intel, and what's driving their decisions to abandon open source as much as it seems like they are right now. I'm sure others can come along and fork many of these open source drivers, but without the support of Intel, things are likely to eventually fall behind, I would think, similar to kind of the struggles of the Novu NVIDIA driver had to working, against or without proper hardware vendor support. So, it looks like Intel is really shedding a lot of open source lately, and it's not a good sign. I don't like how it looks.
Yeah, well, so it makes sense. It's what they're doing. They're saying, okay, let's pare everything down to core business, and everything else they're letting go and moving off. And you think about like this particular library It's already done its job. Like, it's gotten essentially, what was it for? It was an excuse for people to want to buy AVX512 hardware. Well, it served that purpose.
Well, wouldn't drivers for their hardware be part of their core business?
Drivers make drivers a little bit more, but we're talking specifically about the AVX512 sorting library. That's what I'm commenting on now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the whole scope of everything just being dropped.
They're tightening the purse strings. That means they're cutting out as much as they can, to include having to pay engineers to work on something that they're not actively pursuing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. Like, if Intel goes down as a business, all of these things are immediately no longer supported. Like, that is a possibility. Don't kid yourself. That is a real possibility that if Intel does not make changes, that they will, either crash and burn altogether, get acquired by someone else that may not care about any of these projects at all. So I mean, I understand business decisions.
I know Intel's not Intel. I know AMD is nipping on their heels and all that, but I don't think Intel is really hurting yet. I mean, they're hurting compared to where they were before, but I think they still have a long way to go before they're, out of business.
How long before they have to go to just eating beans on toast?
Many, many years.
I mean, in 2024, Intel had a net loss of $18 billion with a B dollars. Yes, they've got a lot of money. That would make me
think about eating beans on toast to help save some money.
Yeah, they've got a lot of money, but that is a lot to lose. So, yeah, it's significant. They've got to make changes. All right. So somebody else that's making changes is the Bluefin distro, another immutable desktop. This one's a bit different, though. Ken, what's up with Bluefin?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that this week, Bobby Borisov wrote about the latest release from a project that aims to give you the best of both worlds: the reliability and ease of use of a Chromebook with the power of a GNOME desktop. It started as a derivative of Fedora Silverblue, carrying over Silverblue's immutable image-based approach while adding its own tooling for things like FlatHub, Homebrew, and ZFS. Now, this is the mainline Bluefin, along with a GTS variant. Bluefin LTS, however, shifted to a new foundation. You're going to like this, Jonathan. They went to CentOS Stream 10 combined with extra packages for Enterprise Linux, or EPEL, giving you a purpose-built CentOS-based immutable desktop, updated atomically. I'm not going to try saying that again. With Bootsy, and designed for users who want a slower, more predictable release cadence lasting 3 to 5 years. Now, in addition to being built on CentOS Stream 10 and pulling in extra packages from EPEL, Bluefin LTS also shares the same source RPMs as Bluefin and Bluefin GTS. I hope you enjoy getting applications through FlatHub, Homebrew, or other containerized methods, since local package layering is not supported. Bluefin LTS includes a backported GNOME 48, along with secure boot support, ZFS integration, and an updated installation experience via the new Anaconda web-based installer. We've covered that one previously. I do recommend reading Bobby's article, especially since he also wrote about Bluefin GDX being released, which I didn't even touch on in this right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Take the reliability that you get from essentially Red Hat, right? These are the packages that make up RHEL. It's the slightly upstream of RHEL. Take them and combine them with the reliability of an atomic desktop. If you don't need the absolute newest kernel and things, sure, it seems like it might be a pretty neat distro to run.
What's the latest, Curtis, with the Enterprise Linux or Red Hat Enterprise Linux now?
Rel 10. I'm not sure what kernel it's based on, but I bet you I can find out.
It's probably, if anything, the latest LTS kernel.
No, Red Hat does not track LTS. It's 6.12.0 is at least what the Google robot tells me. Yeah, it looks like 6.12, and I'm pretty sure that was not an LTS kernel. We can find out. Oh, hey, it did happen to line up. 6.12 is one of the LTS kernels. Historically, in the past, though, Red Hat has not followed the LTS series. They've grabbed whichever one they wanted to grab because they did all of the backports themselves.
Maybe that's another change they've made that has never been announced. We never got.
I would it would delight me to hear that Red Hat is using the LTS kernels, because that means that the work that they do can flow both ways. You know, they can do some of the work of supporting things upstream for anybody else that wants to use LT. But that is essentially why, you know, we covered this back several months ago. The kernel guys basically said, we're not going to do LTSs for 5 or 10 years like we used to. You get it for 2 years and that's it. It's because nobody was using them. Nobody was using the LTS kernels.
After so many years anyways, because they weren't supporting the hardware people were getting.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, but no, it wasn't even that. So like these hardware vendors would come along and they'd say, oh, we need a kernel, whether it was Red Hat or Rockchip or, you know, whoever, we need a kernel to rebase everything off of. And rather than go and get an LTS, they would just go get the latest, or they would get the one that they've already done work on. And so it was completely disconnected from what the upstream kernel was doing. And why would you do the work if nobody's going to use it, if everybody's just going to ignore it?
The LTS distro releases would maintain their own kernel for a period rather than utilizing the already maintained LTS kernel. Mm-hmm. And we talked about the problems of that.
Yeah, I'm very curious now if Red Hat has intentionally using the LTS kernel. I will have to do some look and see if I can find anything about that. But yes, Ken?
Remember coming across an article. I thought it may have been last week, where it was talking about the trying to come up with a base Linux OS to use for space. I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, interesting. Well, if you find it, you can tag it on as one of your stories. But for now, we're going to go and talk about Bcachefs a little bit more, because it's the project we can't get away from. We're addicted to covering it. We have to talk about it every week. That's because there's always some drama going on. And of course, this week we're getting even more into the what shall we call it? The post Linux period. We're moving into the post-Linux, the post-upstream arc of Bcachefs. It is now externally maintained, which, as we predicted, just means it's going to be available as a DKMS package, the dynamic kernel module system. And so it is now officially available as a DKMS for Ubuntu and Debian releases. Now, this is official from the Bcachefs team, not from Debian or Ubuntu. So it is not in there by default, but it is in there if you go and install their apt repo, which is easy to do. It's apt.bcachefs.org. It's basically running 1 or 2 commands, and you are good to go. I mean, it's easy to do. Because there is Bcachefs support in the kernel, for now, you can use that while installing. And I have seen some chatter that they are going to work to find a way in the future to let people do Bcachefs root installs during installation. Because you could put, as they said, you can put whatever kernel module you want to in your not FS tab. That's not the term that I want. RAMFS. You can put any module you want to in your RAMFS, and therefore boot it if you want to. And then there is a second article here. Michael from Phoronix did a bit of benchmarking with the 6.17 kernel, And he was looking at file systems. And so I thought it would be interesting to look, is Bcachefs the fastest file system? Is it even close? And no. Drum roll, no. No, it's not. In some of these tests, like the SQL sort of tests, OpenZFS does very well. And then just slower than OpenZFS, you have ext4 and XFS. And then outside of SQL, which not terribly surprising, outside of SQL, your two fastest file systems are XFS and ext4, with F2FS, the flash-friendly file system, having a really good showing in these as well. But yeah, there's something to be said for just using ext4. That is a decision that I generally have not regretted in the times that I've done it. Just use ext4. It just works. It's been battle proven and it's fast.
Well, I'm gonna agree and disagree. I mean, it really depends on use case. ext4 is very limited, but if you need snapshots, you just can't do that at ext4. If you need to replicate, you can't do that at ext4. You really have to look at what your use case is, which for those cases, Btrfs and ZFS are great. And I guess if you're using SQL, it sounds like ZFS is a good option. I'm still surprised at that. I knew for most cases, at least ext4 was faster, but I'm really surprised that, like, when it comes to SQL, that the other file systems like ZFS come out faster. I wonder what it is that makes them faster. If it's maybe the caching or something. I don't know.
Well, I say it doesn't terribly surprise me because ZFS is now being maintained by the folks at Oracle. And one of the big things that Oracle does is their database system. So it sort of...
And you want to be as fast as possible in retrieving information out of a database.
Indeed.
And writing to it.
Yep. Yep. So, there you go. Just use the ext4.
Thing I came across, by the way, Jonathan, was a article from a couple of weeks ago about Axiom Space and Red Hat bringing data centers to low Earth orbit.
I remember looking at that. We talked about that, in fact, a week or two ago. And I made the observation that I can't see the financials of it working. It may be eventually, but not anytime soon.
But the one I'm thinking of that I thought I'd bookmarked it, but I haven't seen it in my bookmarks, was actually talking about trying to set a base standard to use going forward for space-based Linux systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. We've sent some Linux to space. I think the ISS laptops, don't they all run Linux now because they couldn't keep viruses off of the Windows installs? I think that's legitimately what happened.
ISS is all Linux. Got a robot on Mars, it's Linux.
The helicopter on Mars was a Linux machine.
And several of the probes, I think, are actually running Linux now.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I could believe it. Yeah.
Some of at least the later ones.
Yeah. I know SpaceX, all of their rockets are Linux-based. Lots of C++ code in those, too. But, yeah. All right. Well, one of the things that they do to make all that stuff work is they do a lot of calculations on GPUs.
Yeah, so here is a story I was going to say for Jeff, but since he isn't here, I feel like someone has to tell you about it for him. The story pulls all the things together that Jeff loves in one tight package. We have Ubuntu, NVIDIA, and CUDA. So if you've ever tried installing CUDA and Ubuntu, you probably know the drill. And if Jeff were here, he could likely confirm. But from what I have heard, it's a bit of a mess. The process starts by downloading a file from NVIDIA's site, adding a GPG key, pin a repository, then hunting for the right packages and, going through that whole fun ordeal. Well, that's about to change, at least for if you're using Ubuntu. Canonical, the folks behind Ubuntu, just announced that CUDA is coming straight into the official Ubuntu repository, which means one command. That's it. No more juggling keys, repos, and downloads. Just install it the same way you'd install any other package. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, CUDA is short for Compute Unified Device Architecture, is what lets NVIDIA graphics cards do more than just graphics. It's pretty much why Jeff hasn't been able to leave NVIDIA for AMD yet. Mm-hmm. It turns them into parallel computing engines for things like training AI models, crunching scientific data, powering robotics, and even speeding up video work. It's everywhere in modern computing, and having it backed directly into Ubuntu makes life a lot easier. Well, for people like Jeff. I don't have an NVIDIA card, so whatever. And we all know when it comes to Jeff, the easier the better. This also plays into a bigger strategy. Canonical and NVIDIA are teaming up to make Ubuntu a go-to platform for AI and enterprise workloads. But AMD isn't being left out. Although they aren't directly teaming up with Canonical, they are pushing their ROC M compute stack, the CUDA-like competitor, to be just as easy to deploy on Ubuntu and all the other Linuxes. So bottom line here, what used to be a multi-step headache is about to become a one-liner that saves time, reducing friction, and makes Ubuntu an even stronger choice for anyone working in AI, data science, or high-performance computing.
Interesting. Now that means that they are shipping closed source code as part of the Ubuntu repositories. I guess they're already doing that with the NVIDIA drivers.
Yeah, it's not the first thing.
It's not the first. Coming from Fedora, though, I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, you Fedora guys like, what? Closed source? What? In the repo?
Yeah. It just feels wrong.
What kind of filter would you be running with CUDA?
Filter?
One that makes my face look pretty.
Oh, that kind of filter. I'm thinking, like, what are you doing? Firewalling your GPU?
Or using a eBPF?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Go for
it. I had a super actually this past Floss Weekly was with one of the guys working with eBPF, and he introduced XDP2.
XDP2, yep.
Yeah, that's right, Rob. You were with me there, so yeah, that was fun. What do you have, Ken, in the eBPF world for this week?
Well, this week I came across an article by Saurav Rudra where he wrote about the foundation responsible for guiding upstream development of the extended Berkeley packet filter, or as we like to say, eBPF, providing grants to universities and research institutes. These grants support projects that explore innovative ideas while advancing eBPF to the wider community. The eBPF Foundation awarded $100,000 in research funding this year, split between two universities. Each institution received a $50,000 unrestricted research grant. The first grant was awarded to Ryan, and I do apologize if I mispronounced this, Huang, who's the associate professor at the University of Michigan. His project, Verifier Cooperative Instrumentation, develops ePass, a framework that reduces false rejections of safe eBPF programs. The second grant went to Daniel Wang, associate professor at the University of California, Riverside. His project, eBPF Governors, applies eBPF to data center power management. Now, if you want more information about the eBPF Foundation or the research projects, then just follow the link in our show notes to Saurav's article.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see these kind of grants become available because, you know, people, they can get some actual funding for it, they can put some full-time work into it and really come up with some interesting things. I would find it real fascinating for someone to get one of these grants and work with Tom Herbert, who's the guy we talked to working on XDP2. That is The extreme, let's see, extensible data path. That's it. It's all about making network data very, very fast through things like eBPF, and then even pushing code out to network accelerators. But it's all
if FFmpeg borrows any of that.
No, not yet. Although I could see someone using both at the same time. Like if you wanted to be able to very, very quickly process video.
And then stream it over the network. You
could use XDP to funnel data into FFmpeg. So like something like that would be possible. Yeah, interesting stuff. It'll be fun to watch. Try to keep an eye. We'll have to try to keep an eye on these grants and see what sorts of things are getting funded. Because it's pretty Rob, interesting.
Got a prompt for your JAT-TPT for you to try. Help me build an application that will take eBPF to compress data to stream with FFmpeg over the my home network.
I don't know if first off, I don't know if there's enough corpus of eBPF code out there for ChatGPT to really be able to do that. I also don't think you really need that on your home network. Userland stuff is probably enough. Though
I'd want to keep it on my home network instead of opening myself up to the internet.
You would,
at least while testing.
Yep.
On a side note, a couple things I did try is I had it make me Pac-Man a fully JavaScript. It didn't do a good job on the map, but it worked. I could have just lined up it didn't line up the walls great, but I could have fixed that manually. And I had to do a Python version, which worked pretty flawless. And then I tried to I'm like, well, let's get complicated. Make me Pitfall, and that crashed.
See, when you said Pac-Man, I was thinking of the Ubuntu package manager. I was very confused.
The game.
No, that's apt.
Yeah. Makes more
with
sense.
With the ghost and the little.
Yeah, no, I get it now.
For the rest of you that are confused.
Pac-Man's not the apt package manager for Ubuntu.
What distro is it then? What distro uses
I want to say Arch.
Yeah, it's Arch.
Yeah, that's probably right.
It is.
Yep, it's Arch. Okay. I don't run Arch, so I get a pass on that one. Anyway, it's interesting. You were talking about using AI to write code because that's something that a lot of projects are having to deal with. And one of them is sort of making a step in the direction of accepting more AI written code, and that's Mesa. Mesa now has guidelines for using AI generated code. And essentially it boils down to the human author must understand what the robot wrote, which is a good idea. It's best when you could do that, when you can say, yes, I understand everything that ChatGPT or Grok or whichever of the LLMs you use. I understand what it wrote. I am slowly coming around to the idea of letting the LLM write some of the boilerplate code and do some of the simple and boring reorganizations of code. Slowly coming around to this, very carefully coming around to being okay with this, mainly because I've got a developer that I work with that uses it effectively. And at the very end of this, it says that Mesa developers have clarified that they will continue their conversation about whether or not they ultimately want to allow AI contributions to Mesa. But I think it's probably a step in the right direction to start thinking about what would it look like to accept these, because we're actually starting to see, like if you use Copilot, you will see, commit co-authored by Copilot, and it puts itself in there, which is good. Like let people know that Copilot helped with it. But there is this question with Mesa, and that seems to be a really interesting sort of jumping off point to talk about some other things going on in the graphical space. And there's some KDE stuff to talk about. First off, KDE 6.5 is finally in beta. And so if you want it, you can go grab 6.5 beta. There are some very interesting things that have landed in 6.5 beta. You have your normal interesting things like more rounded corners and more better theming, right? The eye candy stuff. Clipboard work. Apparently now you can star clipboard items, which, hey, that could be super useful. Better global searching. But the ones that really caught my eye is we now have support in Wayland for picture-in-picture. A new Wayland protocol lands in KDE 6.5. The picture-in-picture protocol, and so that you may have seen this. I've seen it on a Teams call or on a Google Meet call, where you go to another tab, and right now Chrome is pulling up another window and asking for permission. Well, with the pip protocol, it's not going to be inside of another window. It's just like a floating video feed. And that potentially very useful. And then the other one that for us gamers is really, really interesting. And that's the pointer warp Wayland protocol finally landing in KDE 6.5. And if you game on Wayland and your mouse has ever gotten stuck so that your character is constantly turning to the right or to the left, it's probably because of this. And this will actually fix it and make some things work better. Of course, we'll have to wait for Wine to fully land support for it and all of that. But on the way to getting that fixed. There is also a blog post from Mr. Nate Graham talking about some other things that are going on, like adding the FortiGate VPN as one of those supported vendors in the KDE VPN settings. In Plasma 6.5, also, KRunner will do mathematical calculations. So you don't have to Google as your calculator. You could just type it right into KRunner. That's hit Alt F2 and you can get that. And it seems like there was one other thing in here that really intrigued me. And of course, I won't be able to find it now because we're on the show, but we've got the show notes in there. And then speaking of KDE, there is one other sort of spicy story from KDE, and that is that Jonathan Riddle is leaving KDE after 25 years. And this is essentially the result of the new Tech Paladin. So this is Nate Graham's new company, Tech Paladin. They're working with Valve. They're doing work on KDE. As they were getting it started, Jonathan Riddle was one of the people that was originally involved in some of those discussions. And there is a blog post that you can go and read from Riddle that talks about, how he had a difference in the direction that he was hoping the new company would go. And apparently he voiced those disagreements and was not invited to the next call, which, again, business stuff. That's how it happens sometimes. There was, let's see if I can find the exact quote, because it was quite funny. Let's see. Shouldn't this be run as a cooperative, we wondered. No, that was far too complex, he said. The next day he went to blah, blah, blah. They are a cooperative socialist paradise. And Nate said he'd look into doing that instead of the setup where he had full control. But it was clear that there was to be no other discussion. So, Jonathan Riddle said, "Let's make it a socialist paradise." And Nate said, "No, we're not going to do that." I am probably more humored by that than I should be, but that is what happened. Yeah, fun stuff going on around the Mesa and KDE world.
Trying to think if are any businesses that are socialist paradise currently.
Somehow that whole socialism thing has not worked out too well for business. It's just, it doesn't go very well together.
The closest I can come to is, and I'm trying to think of the proper name, Win. It's a grocery store chain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
But thank goodness for the safer rounded corners in KDE. I was getting super tired of my mouse pointer getting torn up. That's a quote by Wizardling in the Discord. Thank you.
Yep. It's That's something.
But I do hope that Jonathan Riddle does at least enjoy surfing the endless waves as he relaxes from all of this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, take some time off, man. Like, to rest up for a bit. If you want to come back and start writing code again, I'm sure we would take it as a community. And if not, thanks for all the fish, right?
There you go. Douglas Adams has got it. Just say so long and thanks for all the fish.
It's the ultimate farewell. All right, Rob, you're going to kind of tack on to this and talk some more about Wayland. What else? Somebody else is going Wayland.
Yes. So I always like to remind our listeners how the Linux distros are working to ditch X11 and replacing it with Wayland. Well, it isn't just Linux anymore that is going all in on Wayland. And no, it isn't Windows or Mac either. But wouldn't that be cool? It's actually Redox OS, the Rust-based open source operating system it's been in development for several years. Unlike Linux, which is written mostly in C, Redux is built in Rust. The project takes inspiration from Unix, but its goal is to create a modern OS that's more secure, memory safe, and easier to maintain. The Redux team just published their roadmap for the rest of 2025 and into 2026. And Wayland, as Jonathan mentioned, Wayland plays a big role in their desktop ambitions. They're planning multiple flavors of Redux: hosted Redux running inside virtual machines, Redux server for edge and cloud deployments, and Redux desktop as a true daily driver operating system. Alongside that, they're focusing on some big technical milestones, like being able to build Redux on Redux itself. Makes me curious what they're building it on today, if it's Linux, but improving software compatibility, supporting more programming language and build systems, and tightening up both performance and security. On the desktop front, there's a lot happening too. Beyond Wayland, they're expanding GPU acceleration hardware support, and they're working with the Cosmic desktop environment, the same one the System 76 is developing for Pop! OS and other Linux distros. So while Linux still gets most of the attention in the open source OS world and on the show, because we're the Untitled Linux Show, Redux is quietly pushing forward modern Rust-based and trying to prove it could be more than just a side project. And it's been asked out there before, if another OS will come along and replace Linux, is it Fuchsia or something else? And honestly, obviously nobody really knows, but I'm starting to think that Redux may one day be a real contender. They're not there yet, but it seems like they have a lot of plans to be something really special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting, it's a really interesting project. It almost seems to me that in the short term, at least, their biggest potential market is for running virtual machines, because there's so many. So like, what's one of the hardest things to do for Linux? It has been for years and years. Is what? Hardware support. Trying to get support for all of those weird pieces of hardware that people have, because there's billions and billions of potential combinations of hardware. And so if you can just cut that out and say, well, let's just focus on the core, we're going to use, here's our virtual machine that's pretty standardized, we want to run really well on this virtual machine, then I think that's probably the place that makes the most sense to sort of focus. And that's what they're doing with the Redux. What did they call it? You said it just a second ago.
Hosted servers, I think it was.
Yeah, hosted Redux.
Redux, yeah.
As a virtual machine. Yeah, that's that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, maybe my web servers one day will be running on Redux.
Maybe. I also find it fascinating that they like Cosmic. That seems like a good match.
Yeah, right. Rust-based.
Right.
Just need to get some Rust-based drivers for Wayland.
They're working on it. If you're running Mac OS, if you're running on one of the M Macs, then Your Mesa drivers have some Rust in there. So if you really want to, you can go do it.
They plan to make Wayland work on it somehow, so
I think the Linux support on those M Macs is only Wayland, isn't it? I don't think they run X11.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Why would you try to port X11 to M1 Mac?
That was the question that the people doing it asked themselves, and they couldn't come up with a good enough answer to do the work.
Why try to pull a really old going away technology into something you're just starting up and trying to build on to?
Maybe because it did a recent upgrade.
Maybe.
I can think of an audio loop machine that did a recent upgrade.
You know,
I think you're trying too hard.
Yeah. But before we go there, that reminds me, I did put a bid on an M1 Mac. I wonder if I lost that. I don't remember when that was ending.
Surprise! You open the door up tomorrow. Surprise!
Maybe I'll have to check my email now. And
yeah.
How much did you bid on it?
Well, the last bid I had was $210, I think. And
okay, then I'm going to go 211.
Yeah, well, that is why I did not tell you what my max bid was. Not until I know if it's over yet. My max bid, I placed higher than that.
Yeah.
And you only give them the money if you win the bid.
Yo.
All right, try again with your segue.
Well, so I was going to take it this time. If he does buy an M1 Mac, is there some audio production software that he can run? Maybe do some live looping on it?
Maybe even some streaming. But going to talk about this time some information from an article that Marius Nestor wrote this week about the latest release of the hardcore loop machine and music production software designed for DJs, live performers, and electronic musicians called, and I had to listen to one of the tutorials to make sure I was saying this right, Jarda. Now, according to Marius, Jarda 1.3.0 Jackalope is a small update, but an important one as it introduces support for multiple audio output configurations. Now, by multiple, I do mean more than stereo. Now, along with the improvements to the Jack audio connection kit support to enable multiple output connection support. On top of that, it provides some internal code refactoring and cleanup, updates the Fastlight toolkit that I think I'd mentioned either in one of the pre or post shows recently. Dependencies to Fastlight toolkit's version 1.4.4 and improves and beautifies the plugin browser window for a better, more stable, faster, and smoother experience. Marius' article also includes links to the project's official website and FlatHub page. Now, Marius also wrote about the GStreamer project releasing the sixth maintenance update to this popular and powerful open source, free and cross-platform multimedia framework. GStreamer 1.26.6. It introduces support for Windows Media Video 9 or WMV3 and Windows Media Video 9 Advanced Profile or WVC1, both codecs, and the support's going into the Video for Linux API version 2, what we commonly call V4L2, and updates the LibriSpot library to version 0.7 for compatibility with recent Spotify changes. It also improves the Vulkan video decoder and fixes a bug causing stability issues with the closed caption combiner and transcriber bin. The GStreamer Rust plugins also saw various improvements and bug fixes. For more details, check out Marius' article, which includes a link to the release notes, which I followed to actually find the tutorial that showed me how to say Jarda.
Yeah, I'm real curious about Giada. I need to check it out. I've had people ask me, and I've even gone looking myself for something to do, sort of loop-based music. You could do a little bit of it in Ardor now. They've added some support for this. It's still a little clunky. It's getting better and better. But I've not tried Giada, and I'll have to.
Downloaded it from FlatHub and played with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Make any good songs? Anything you want to share?
No, I didn't do enough playing with it for that.
Yeah.
Just start it up, see if I could set up an audio sample, and basically following the first tutorial.
Yeah, there's a, and of course I'm not immediately finding the name of it, but there is there's another program that is looping from the command line, and I can't think of it. Oh well, it's cool. It looks really cool. Well, hopefully we'll have them on Floss Weekly at some point. But it's that same sort of thing.
The command line or Jarda?
No, it's well, I wouldn't mind having the Giada guys either. But no, what I'm thinking of, it's literally it's like an NPM project. So I think you're editing a text file, and you're creating a song based off of a text file. The name, I can't remember the name of it. Oh well, it'll come to me later. Getting old.
We'll mention it in post show.
Yeah, there you go. I'll find it about the time the show stops. Let's talk Fedora for a little bit. There's some things going on in the Fedora world that is pretty interesting. Fedora 43 beta is out actually, and if you want to grab it, the images are available. The ISOs are out. If you want to check out the Fedora 43 beta, and it's got some interesting things in it. The Anaconda Web UI is there. It's going to DNF5 by default. You have the normal toolchain updates, the latest version of Python, pulling out some of the old things that are in there, just all around doing the updates. That's what Fedora 43 is all about. We have a review over on Phoronix with some benchmarking, and surprisingly, actually, everything is, for the most part, is either right at the same, or the Fedora 42 release is a little bit quicker for a lot of these benchmarks, which is a little surprising, but oftentimes just means that, there was some security thing found that when they fixed it, it caused a bit of a slowdown. There are some things where it is a little faster on Fedora 43 in the beta than it is on the others. So probably a wash all around as far as performance goes. But there is something else going on in Fedora land that I found really interesting, and that is Fedora Forge. It is the new home for Fedora project subprojects and special interest groups. And essentially they are hosting their own sort of Git repositories using it's a GitLab alternative, essentially. It looks a lot like GitLab when you actually click through to it. Powered by Forgeo? Forgeo? I don't know. Forgejo. I have no idea how that's supposed to be pronounced, but it's a lightweight software forge. So yes, it's going to be a GitLab alternative. And this is what Fedora is now moving to for all of their stuff in the future. And it is a slow process. They are not forcing anyone over there yet, but interesting to see that they are thinking about what's coming next as far as self-hosting all of their infrastructure. So if you're a Fedora person, Fedora is your jam, you might want to go check out Fedora Forge. Rob, have you run Fedora as your main before?
Fedora was my main, I don't know, was it shortly after I joined the show, or for, I don't know, 6 months to a year?
It was just too boring. Everything worked. So I moved on.
Yeah, then I went to Arch. I needed some excitement.
You need something to brag about.
I think I got Red Hat 4 with this book.
Red Hat Linux 4, eh?
Yep.
Yeah. It was before they started putting the enterprise term in there. It was back when it was just Red Hat Linux.
Back before Fedora.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
indeed. Yeah.
I bought a box version of Red Hat one time too, a long time ago. I had no clue what version it was.
Yeah, my Linux journey started at about the same time that Fedora did. My first install was one of the really early Fedora versions. So, all right. Rob, you want to talk about Semaphore?
Yes, we're getting on to the
Command line tips.
It's time. It's time for the command line tips. All right, so let me bounce over. So last week I talked about Ansible, and I said I was going to follow up this week with a nice, easier web GUI that can help you manage it. So for those watching, it'll be easier for you to follow along. I see that's in the way. Should I maybe I should adjust that over? Yeah, that'll do. All right. So, you know what? Actually, let me make one more adjustment here because I realized. All right, we'll go with that one right there. I think it's all visible.
That'll work.
Okay. So, Semaphore is a web GUI to manage Ansible. So with that, you have a spot for your task templates, and I'll come back to that. You have a spot for your inventory. If you remember last week when we were in Ansible, there was an inventory file, and here's it's same format. It's the same format as the inventory file, but it's in the web GUI. You have your playbooks, but those are not stored locally. Well, I think you can, but those are in the repository, which I am using a GitHub repo, which it's fine if anyone sees where that repo is. There's no private data in there. You can use those playbooks if you want, because all the private stuff is done with variables, which is right here in this variable group. So I have my Proxmox variables, which there's a secret tab where you can have hidden stuff and passwords. There's a other variable tab, so you can variabilize everything that you want in your playbooks. You can do a key store for SSH keys and other things like that. And you can even run your template on a schedule. So once you have all those Ansible things in here, so far I just had this one updating my Proxmox VMs on Sunday. And then there is the template or the actual task section. So when you're looking at that, you can go in here. You can, if I wanted to actually edit it, this is what it looks like when I set it up. I gave it a version. I gave it a name. This is a playbook from this repo, the GitHub repo that I'm running. It's using this inventory, the Proxmox servers, and it's using the variables that I label Proxmox variables. And there's a lot of other things you could turn on and off, but those are the key things you need. So once you do that, you can run it on a schedule, like I said, or if you want to run that ad hoc anytime, you just hit that go button. Various things show up based on how I created the task, and you just hit build, and that's going to be the output. The same thing you see on Ansible. And right now it's taking snapshots of it's taking backups of my Proxmox VMs, which takes a little time. So we don't have to wait for that to finish, but it's going to flow through it, take snapshots, do updates, reboot them if needed, which it has never had to needed a reboot yet. But, and I also want to give a call out to Learn Linux TV. I know he used to be a listener or watcher of the show. I haven't heard from him in a long time, so I'm not sure if he still does. But I watched his video to help me set this up. I used a different OS, so I had to kind of convert some things over, but it was actually very helpful in setting up Semaphore. So that, I believe, is in the show notes, or it will be. So you can go to that link if you want to set up Semaphore.
Very cool. All right, Ken, you've got something, I think, more wire plumber stuff, right?
Yes, I do. Have you ever wanted to be able to change the profile that your audio device is using?
Yeah, actually.
Well, this week we are playing around with setting your audio profile with WPCTL using its set-profile command. Let me go ahead and switch to my terminal here. What I've got up is a terminal with the status output from WPCTL status. And for those of y'all listening, I've also got my system settings displaying my sound settings so I can show you in real time what happens. Now, the basic command is going to be WCTL, and I'm going to go over the command itself first by find that -H. And you use the command is set-profile followed by the ID for the object or device, and then the index for the profile. The index starts at 0, which is actually what you'd put if you wanted to turn that device's profile off. Now, depending on your system, your device may only have one profile, so it would be 0 and 1. But I found out with this one, for those of y'all listening, my status is showing that I've got 3 audio devices, an AC97 audio controller, ICH6 high definition audio controller, and then the ICH9 built-in audio. The AC97 is device 42. So what I'm going to do here is go to 42 and set that to 0. Find that 0 there. There we go. And you'll see that on the system settings, it shows that the AC97 is showing as an inactive card now. I can do the same for the ICH6 by putting in device 43 followed by a 0. And then for the built-in audio, which is device 44, again followed by a 0. So I've got all 3 of the cards off. Thank goodness that's in a VM. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to hear y'all, or y'all wouldn't be able to hear me. Or Rob might say that's a good thing. So let's go back to 42, the AC97, and we'll go back to profile 1, which the system settings is showing is an analog stereo duplex. So I've got a playback device, analog out, and a recording device, microphone. Now, in the VM I'm running, it's also got another profile, which is 2, which is just analog output. And then there's 3, which is analog stereo input, basically the microphone. Now, Jonathan, do you think there's a 4th profile?
I don't know. Is there?
Well, let's find out. That's why I said we're going to be playing today. There is. It's Pro Audio. And in this, for the AC97, it's showing that it's got the Pro Audio. And if I go into the system settings and hit Show Channels, it's stereo, auxiliary 0 and 1. And then it's also got 2 Pro Audio recording devices.
The Pro Audio setting basically means don't try to figure out what these are. Just give me the raw inputs and outputs.
Yep.
It's super useful if you have like a card that's got, well, I've got one over here that's got like 8 inputs and 8 outputs. It'll do something really weird, like try to give you a 7.1 system. And it's like, no, this is not a surround sound system. These are just 8 channels that I want to be able to deal with.
So this sounds like a card that you're going to play with this command with for a bit.
I usually go through just the KDE settings. You can get to it in there and change it, but it is useful to know that there are other ways to do it.
Especially if you wanted to script something.
Especially if you wanted to script it. Absolutely.
And let's go ahead and turn that card off, and let's see what we got for our ICH6 family. So it's got an analog stereo duplex, line out and line in.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 is analog stereo output, just like with the AC9. 3, line in, similar to the AC9. And then we've got the Pro Audio. Mm-hmm. This one's only showing the one recording device. And let me go ahead and run the status command here. And we see that it's showing Pro Audio 2 filter, but it's not showing any sinks or sources since we haven't selected anything yet.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And now let's go ahead and turn this one off. No, that's not going to work. There's that 0 button. Taking my hands off the keyboard and I lost my spot. So we've got that off. Now let's look at the built-in audio. And how many profiles do you think it has?
I would assume the same, but we'll see.
In this, though I'll be honest, when I was playing around this on my Ubuntu system, I was noticing the hardware I've got in here, it seems like they only show one profile that I could change from the command line. I had to go in and to the system settings and turn on the Pro Audio for it to show those profiles in the at the terminal. Don't know why.
Yeah,
we've got the line out again. Line in. And then Pro Audio where you've got the Pro Audio out and in. And of course, 2 channels.
Yeah. Kind of makes me think that Wireplumber must have like a template system where every new sound card, if it fits, it'll give you those 4 presets.
Well, in this case, I actually added these after the fact by changing adding each of these in, because the ICH9 was the default that it had set up with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Very cool. I've got something that I spent some time playing around with it. You know, I told you that I was doing some playing, and that is Terminus. Now, I do have to admit, this is running in the browser, and I did a little bit of looking to see if it would work actually in the command line, and I did not find a way to run it in the command line or with SSH, which I was a little disappointed by. But it is pretty cool because it lets you practice your command line tools in the form of a text-based adventure. And so you use commands like ls to look at the scene. You use less to look at items. So you can get, for instance, in this case, it's the welcome letter that you can read. You use cd to move between locations. And so you change directories to go to the new place. You run ls again. You can interact with things again with less. And as you get and it's got quite the sense of humor too. You know, so in this case, we tried to ride the pony. It was great. The pony got tired of us and bucked us off. And now the pony has run away. And you can see the wonderful picture of the pony there in all of its glory. It's got this sort of sense of humor all throughout the game, which is fun. But you learn more and more commands as you go along. For example, I was as far as I got into it, I also got the MV command to move items around, and then the grep command to look for things inside of items. And it's a really clever approach to learning the command line tools. I like it. I found several of these, and this was the first one that I thought was interesting enough to talk about here. So, Terminus. And we got a link to it in the show notes. You can click through and play the game on your own if you want to.
Yeah, spend hours playing it.
You can. You can get lost and spend hours.
Or recommend it to anyone else who wants to learn Linux command line through a game.
Yep. I will make sure next week, I've got several of these. Next week, I'll make sure and grab one that you can play with SSH for a true command line interface experience. All right. Well, that is it. That is the end of the show. It seems like it flies by when there's only 3 of us here. That probably says something about our missing member, but anyway.
That or we're picking really short articles to talk about.
I don't know. I picked a bunch of them. I'm going to let each of the guys get the last word in if they want to. We're going to let Rob go first because he is on the left. Rob, do you have anything to plug?
I have a lot today. So first, I'm going to go back to my command line tip. For anyone who wanted to see the output, here it is. That's the output. Those are all internal private IPs, so not like there's anything you can glean from that. Unless you get into my network, and then I'm in rough shape.
You're hosed anyway.
Yes. After that, the next thing I want to do is, Ken thought he could squeeze in an extra command line tip last week. So I'm squeezing in an entire story this week. I'm going to keep it short, but Systemd 258 is out this week, and the biggest new feature is Systemd factory reset to request a factory reset on the next reboot. And UEFI firmware images can now be enabled in a UKI and many other new features. But that's the end of my story. I kept it real short, unlike Ken's extra command line tip. So otherwise, back to my normal, regularly scheduled weekly closing. You can come get more of me at robertpcampbell.com. Once you get to that website, you can connect with me with links to, you can find there links to my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Blue Sky, Mastodon, and a place to donate coffee to me. It looks like I'm still the winner of that Mac, M1 Mac that I talked about earlier. So I'm going to need some coffees to help pay for that, it looks like, because that finishes up tomorrow.
Did you bid more than you have?
I have not changed my bid yet. I am still the only bidder with 1 day left, so we'll see what the last day brings. Also, Jeff, who's not here, maybe, but if you want to bring him back, donate a couple of coffees to him on my page. Just say they're for him, and I'm going to be keeping them because he owes me 2 anyway.
Even if they're for him, they're really for you.
Don't donate to Rob.
Well,
donate to the club.
He won't owe me anymore that way. So you will be lifting a weight off of his shoulders. It's just been dragging him down so much that that's why he hasn't felt great and hasn't been able to be here this week, because it just drags him so down owing me.
Yeah, that's it, I'm sure. All right, Ken, anything to plug?
Yes. For those of us who also like to hack together mills as well as scripts, I do want to recommend checking out the latest PC Linux OS magazine's special edition. It's volume 2 of their recipes.
Interesting. Very cool.
Might want to check out some of the other special editions they've got on that link.
Yeah. All right. I do want to let folks know for sure about Club TWiT. You can scan the QR code right there and find out more about it. It's definitely worth it. It's not much more than the price of a cup of coffee per day. And, it gets you access to the ad-free version of the shows, behind the scenes look, and access to the Discord. If you're not a part of Club TWiT, you really should take a look and join today. I appreciate the guys being here. If you want to find more of me, you can check me out at Hackaday. Hackaday.com. There is that's where Floss Weekly is at, hackaday.com/floss. That's also where my security article goes live every Friday morning. We have a lot of fun with that as well. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for watching or listening, whether you get us live or on the download. And we'll be back next week on the Untitled Linux Show.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content. We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club.